Hi, everybody. Welcome to another installment of movies I've watched lately. And I'm going to talk about four films today. Briefly give a synopsis of each one. I'm not going to spoil anything for any of these movies, so don't worry about spoilers. One of these movies comes from my own collection. It's a rewatch. And the other three are brand new first time movies, and I'll talk about them as I go along. Okay, the first one that's from my collection is a favorite of mine from the 1990s. It's one of my favorite films from that decade. It's a black comedy, and it's called Death Becomes Her. It is a film that is directed by Robert Zemeckis, and it stars Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, and Bruce Willis. And it's a story about Meryl Streep, who's an aging, older, middle-aged actress who made some movies, TV shows, and now she's on Broadway. And she's getting older and older. She's gaining a lot of wrinkles, and she's getting to be very vain and very upset about her appearance. And she has a friend who's Goldie Hawn, and Goldie Hawn has been jealous of her, and in some ways, Meryl Streep has been jealous of Goldie. But Meryl Streep was always able to steal all the boyfriends that Goldie Hawn's character has had over the years. Every time Goldie Hawn gets a boyfriend, Meryl Streep's always taking him away. So they have a very strained relationship. And Bruce Willis comes in. Bruce Willis is a plastic surgeon, a very popular plastic surgeon, who has a fling with Meryl Streep and starts falling for her, and is originally Goldie Hawn's boyfriend, but eventually winds up leaving Goldie and going to the star, Meryl Streep. That, of course, creates even more tension between Meryl and Goldie, and they get into a real bitter fight. And somewhere along the way, Meryl Streep is able to find the secret to youth. There's a fountain of youth that she discovers by a very elite group who keep it a secret. Don't let everybody know exactly who the clientele are. People like Elvis Presley have taken this and faked his death, for example, over the years. There are people who just don't let on that they can live forever by taking this potion. You can grow younger, you can look younger, feel younger, look great, and never grow old, and can live forever, will never die. So that's the gist behind it. But it's a black comedy along with that theme, and there are prices to pay, as it turns out, if you wind up looking younger, feeling younger, and living forever. It's not all it's cracked up to be, is really the gist of it, as you find out the downside, if you're not careful, of what that could entail. Uh, Not being able to really die. Okay. What I like about this movie so much is I think the three characters work perfectly together. They're all great in this. There are special effects that are had here, like here when you see like a hole in Goldie's stomach, and Meryl Streep's head is twisted around in this picture. There's a lot of interesting effects that are done here to accomplish these goals, and I think that's terrific. But as I say, the performances are good, and I was most impressed when I watched this all the time with Bruce Willis. We're used to Bruce Willis as the tough guy, the macho man, and here he plays a really geeky, um, pushover, kind of nerdy kind of character, and I think his is the most revealing performance here of all. So, Death Becomes Her is a lot of fun. Okay, all right, now my girlfriend has different tastes in movies than I do. My girlfriend has a movie collection, and she's always trying to get me to watch stuff. And most of what she shows me, I have to tell you, I do not like. She loves romantic comedies. She loves straight romance, and a lot of her movies that she has in her collection, for whatever reason, are from the very early 2000s. Um, and this particular movie is not one of those. I'd heard of this movie, never saw it, and I don't have the year handy for this movie. It's in the 1990s, I believe. It's directed by Ron Howard. This was a suggestion, and this came from my girlfriend's collection. It's called The Paper. And I was willing to give this a watch because it had a lot of people in here I like. It has a great cast. We have Michael Keaton. We have Glenn Close. We have Marissa Tomei. We have Dennis Quaid. We have Robert Duvall. A good cast of people who work on a newspaper, and it's kind of another odd, weird comedy. Um, It shows you the struggles of trying to keep a paper afloat and to be number one and not let the competition take you over and everything. They want to have the one to get the story first. This is okay. It was an okay movie. I didn't love it. It was an enjoyable time. It didn't knock me out at all. My girlfriend liked it a lot better than I did. To me, it's like this is from the perspective of people who run a newspaper. I don't run a newspaper, so I couldn't really appreciate, uh, you know, the trials and tribulations of such. But from their perspective, it was okay. I don't really have much to say in here, really. Usually have more words for a movie, but it was just, it didn't really knock me out, is all I could say. But it was pretty good. I would say it's worth a view. All right, now the next two films I'm going to talk about, I don't have anything to show for here. I don't have physical copies of these. I'm going to go back to my girlfriend again. She was going on cable, and she went on to the on-demand site. She was able to pull up a movie that she was interested in watching. She liked the movie, and then for Valentine's Day, she said, I got a good suggestion of something you might like. And here's the catch of it. This movie I'm going to talk about next, it was directed by Woody Allen. Now, I love Woody Allen, but Woody Allen I like especially when he is in the movie. I like Woody Allen as a comical character within the movie. Annie Hall, Husbands and Wives, any of the movies with Small Time Crooks, anything with Woody Allen, played again Sam. But my girlfriend, on the other hand, hates Woody Allen, despises Woody Allen. She can't take Woody Allen, but she did love Midnight in Paris, which did not star Woody Allen. He did not act in his movie. And this movie, too, is the movie that she actually discovered is called Magic in the Moonlight from 2014. And she watched it one day on demand, and she said, this is so good that she recommended it to me, knowing that I do like Woody Allen. Okay, so we watched it. And this movie is set in 1928, and that already is a reason why my girlfriend liked the movie. She likes, old period pieces, costumes, things like that. This is not really a period piece, but it's older than we are now in the 21st century. It's almost 100 years ago. And in this movie, we have Colin Firth playing a very smarmy, snobby, self-centered kind of magician. He's got an act, and he has a best friend who's also an illusionist, and his best friend kind of like has a little rivalry going with him. So he discovers through his friend that there's a very young woman who's very pretty. She's played by Emma Stone. Personally, nothing against Emma Stone. Everybody has their own taste. I don't think she's a beauty, but nevertheless, she's okay. Emma Stone is supposedly this young girl that's a clairvoyant. She can read minds. She can tell the future. And Colin Firth's friend is very persuasive that this woman, this young woman, is really the real deal, because he can't believe it. He's tried everything. He says, I've tried everything to uncover her, to expose her as a fraud. He says, but she's really wonderful. I can't find anything amiss. So he tells Colin Firth, you might want to try and see if you could visit her and debunk her as a fraud. And of course, the very egotistical Colin Firth character, he would love a challenge like that. There's nothing he loves more. It's one of his specialties to kind of expose a hoax when he sees one. So he's willing to meet this young woman and expose her as a hoax. Well, without revealing too much, naturally, it's a Woody Allen movie, so there's no surprise here that, of course, he starts having feelings for her, and the more he tests her, the more he realizes he's impressed beyond his expectations. He does believe that this young lady actually is for real. She really does have these kind of talents and abilities and powers. She really is supernatural. So all of a sudden, he really becomes a fan of this woman and falls hopelessly in love with her. And that's all I'm going to say at this particular time. What I liked about the movie first and foremost, was Colin Firth's character. I thought Colin Firth was the real standout in this movie. I think he was really the best thing about it. It was worth watching just for him and his delightfully selfish kind of, egotistical illusionist who's kind of full of himself. and kind of like, dismisses everyone else. Sometimes that kind of snooty, snobby elitism can be interesting when you see the right character. That was good, but I don't know. Whenever I watch this movie, Emma Stone, I don't. She doesn't convince me that she's from 1928. She seems more like somebody from the 21st century. But whatever, that's okay. It was an okay movie. I didn't think it was anything special. I think I've seen a lot of similar type of Woody Allen movies. I mean, stuff like Curse of the Jade Scorpion, stuff like that. It's a typical Woody Allen formula, but it was worth a watch. Okay, so that's it for that one. All right, the most interesting film here that's new to me. This is another new film I never saw before, and the circumstances with which I came to see this movie are very interesting, I think. I have Turner Classic Movies on my cable, and very rarely do I go around the dials and ever see a movie that comes up that I've never seen that I want to stick with and try out. Usually a lot of my movies, unsurprisingly, are movies from my collection that I've seen many times, unless somebody else, like my girlfriend, suggests a new movie. So in this particular case, one day I was flipping around the channels on Turner Classic Movies, and I happened to catch the credits at the beginning for a movie called The Children's Hour. And The Children's Hour was from 1961. And on the screen, I noticed some things that appealed to me. It said it starred Shirley MacLaine. It said it starred Audrey Hepburn, James Garner, Miriam Hopkins, who I love Miriam Hopkins in films like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Frederick March version. And then the real icing on the cake for me was that it said directed by William Wyler. And I love William Wyler as a director. His version of Ben-Hur is among my favorite movies of all time. I think it's the greatest movie I've ever seen so far in my life. And he's a masterful director. So all these things appealed to me. And then just to close the deal, I clicked on the description and it said what the movie was about. And in the synopsis, I said, that sounds really, really like a good movie idea. So I'm going to try it. Okay, now the movie has former classmates, two young ladies. One of them is Shirley MacLaine. One of them is Audrey Hepburn. And they've been friends for a long time. And they decide that they're going to reach a dream that they've talked about for many years. They want to open up a private school for girls, the two of them. And they're going to be, in charge. So they opened up this school, and, it's starting to do better business. Now, out of the two women, the Audrey Hepburn character is engaged to James Garner. James Garner is, they've been engaged for about 2 years, I think, and they want to get married, but, they're putting it off for now. Now, there's a student in the girls' school, a young girl who's a very spoiled and nasty brat. She has a rich grandmother, and she's taken to this school, and she loves to bully people, other students. This girl, she likes to bully them and hold things over them and kind of have them in her power and stuff like that. So this young student is played by I have the name down here. Hold on, let me get it. I never heard of her before. Karen Balkin. And Karen Balkin is very good here as the kind of little kid you'd love to hate, the little nasty girl. One day she's caught in a big lie. She lies all the time. But something has to be done. So Audrey Hepburn and Shirley MacLaine, they punish her, which is done back then. And this is 1961 we're talking about, this film. So they punish her, and as a kind of revenge against the teachers, what this little girl does is she goes back to her grandmother and concocts a story that will kind of embarrass and ruin Shirley and Audrey. And that story is that they're both lesbian lovers. Now, again, this is 1961. So you can imagine it was not the way it is today. And in watching this movie, one of the things you're stunned by is how homosexuality, lesbianism was treated back then. If you were an exposed lesbian, you become ostracized and you lose everything. I mean, quickly, everything in the school changes. All the parents are withdrawing their girls, they're taking them out of the school. And of course, the school comes on hard times soon, and nobody knows what happened here. The teachers, they don't know what's going on. Why is this happening? Why is everybody, why are all the parents taking their children out of the school? So basically, I said no spoilers at the beginning, and maybe this is a little bit of a spoiler, but not much. That's the basic story. There's other stuff that happens, and I'm not going to spoil for you at all, but that's the synopsis I saw, which was interesting. Just amazing to me how taboo lesbianism was. It was a totally different time in 1961. And William Wyler directs this movie masterfully. Like I said, there are so many great shots, the way he sets things up, and the emotion that he gets out of his performers. There's also a performance in here by a very, very young Veronica Cartwright, who you might know. A lot of people will know her from Alien. She plays Lambert in Alien, and of course she did a lot of other things too. But Veronica Cartwright here gives a good performance too, as the frightened young girl that the other bratty girl, played by Karen, actually bullies. So she's under her power too, and it's really a good cast. The cast really impressed me, and I was spellbound throughout. I mean, my attention was absolutely on the movie. I mean, I didn't fall asleep. Sometimes I'll fall asleep. I say, the heck with this. This was really interesting from start to finish, and the way, I guess, one child's lie can ruin the lives of several adults. I mean, all of their lives are ruined. The relationship between James Garner and Audrey Hepburn, the friendship between Shirley MacLaine and Audrey, the school's future and livelihood, everything is turned topsy-turvy just by one brat's tall tale. And it was an amazing movie. And I found out afterwards, when I did research, that this is actually a film that was already done in 1936. And William Wyler actually directed that one too. That version was called These Three. And These Three, being done in 1936, they didn't talk about homosexuality in it. What they talked about was, the difference was that there was a love affair that was hinted at. The young student in that film actually said that a heterosexual couple, I guess a teacher and her boyfriend, were having a very scandalous kind of sexual affair. So it wasn't any lesbianism in that version. It was just a regular heterosexual affair that was blown out of proportion. And this was also done as a play in 1934. Okay, so it's interesting that William Wyler directed a 1936 film and a 1961 film. I want to also mention, I said at the top that Miriam Hopkins was in this. She has a role. In the 1961 version, Miriam Hopkins is an older woman. She plays Shirley MacLaine's older aunt, who was also, I believe, a teacher in this girls' school. All right, so that was the film I was most impressed with. And it's always great to find a new gem, a film that you didn't even know existed. I'd never heard of this. I didn't even know. I try to watch a lot of William Wyler films because I like his directorial style. I love Jezebel and Ben-Hur and, so on. So it was great to come across this surprise, all right? So that's it for this edition. And thank you all for watching. Hope to see you again pretty soon.